Hey everybody. Alright, this is Chicken here. I am going to be going over the first 3 bosses in hard mode Denova. Actually, I'm going to be going over all 4. It might be in separate videos, because the first video I recorded with this whole thing ended up being 20 minutes. And you might get like a boss in each one, or it might be 2 and 2. I don't know. I know Keva's needs his own, so I might just do 4 separate videos. Anywho, let's go ahead and get started with Zorn and Toth. Ta-da! Transition, awesome, right? Anywho, you're going to be starting up near the top. I don't know if I got the Z and the T backwards, but it doesn't really matter. The idea for showing you where those 2 are is so that you can see A, where the bosses will be positioned by the tanks, and B, where the tanks are positioned. When both tanks are at that spot and the bosses are at that spot, you don't really have to move forward at all, if at all, in order to taunt the other boss. The tanks will be staying put. The bosses will be swapping. The DPS that are assigned to the boss stay with the boss. Like, we will have 2 DPS and a healer with Toth. And when Toth switches to the other side, then all of them would switch too. Healers, when you're switching from one tank to the other, do something nice, like top off the tank before you run to the next side, or put a bubble on them and then run over to the next side. The idea is that the tank will have a moment where there won't be a healer on him just quite yet. Also, melee DPS. Be aware of the AoEs. There usually is some kind of indicator. I don't know what it is because I'm not a melee DPS, but we have a badass melee DPS known as Bia, who is able to leave the area and not get hit by the smash. Additionally, the melee DPS that are on Toth, when he berserks, GTFO. There's no reason that you need to be taking all that extra damage. Take it easy on your healers and just get out of there. You're going to be killing them right around the same time. If any of the DPS gets fearful, which you also need to be aware of and avoid, you can usually avoid that by staying at like the maximum distance, like back up all the way until all your buttons turn gray, and then baby steps up until you're like, oh, the perfect range, my buttons just turned on. The idea between the tanks, their positioning, you want to make sure that you're a little bit closer than the boss is, so that the healer can stay out of those AoEs that I was just going over, and still heal you. The idea is you want the healer to be in range of you, but not in range of the boss. You still want to position the tank to be or the boss to be aiming at the wall, though, no matter which tank you're on, or which boss you're on. So, the raid leader is going to be in charge of paying attention. You want to make sure that you kill them both around the same time, ideally exactly the same time. If you kill one before the other, then it does a lot more damage, or crazy, or maybe it does both things at the same time. I don't know. I just know that you're supposed to kill them at the same time, and we do. So just do it that way. Then that's part 1. When they both die, this dude's going to jump off of the, right next to where the Z is right there. He's going to come down. And, you know, you've already beaten the hard part because of the switching and all that jazz. Takes a little getting used to. Oh, side note, when you're first running in, I recommend everyone run in next to run in next to the right side first, and then loop around, even if you're supposed to be DPSing the Z. It'll help you avoid some damage. Secondly, if you were mounted when Zorn or Toth, whoever does their first stomp, it will knock you off your mount and stun you for a second. But if you're not mounted, it will just hurt you, and you can still do everything that you were doing, and it won't interrupt you or discombobulate you, or whatever the fuck they're calling it. Anyway, back to part 2, where you are fighting the dude whose name I forget, that's over on this side and ends up coming down. The entire idea is interrupt everything. If he's casting, he's wiping your raid. If you interrupt it, he won't do it for a little bit. Everybody in the raid, it's your responsibility to interrupt. If you think, oh, So-and-so's got the interrupt. He's right there. You are wrong and retarded. So, don't be a tard. Interrupt. And I'm going to call that the end of this video. We're going to move on to the tanks in our next video. Do me a favor, please like and subscribe below. Post any comments or anything if you have any questions. I'd be happy to try to answer. I'm not necessarily an expert on this, but I do know enough, and I figured I'd pass on what I do know. Thanks again for watching.